Welcome to Awake and Activate. Today on Awake and Activate, we're going to talk about mirror imaging. What is it and what to do? Many times when you're listening to other people, they can be describing something that they're perceiving or from their perspective. But in truth, what they're describing is things that they're doing themselves. They've just projected it onto another person, not realizing that they're actually talking about traits that they have within themselves. So when we're listening to people and they're talking about situations and they bring on either fear, doubt, insecurity, or shaming another person, or not showing unconditional love, well, we must put mirror imaging into the box of the school of thought of where they're getting their information from. What are they talking about? Who are they talking about? And we know that there's no possible way that any of us at this point can know 100% about what's going on in somebody else's life. So the only person that we have that kind of access to and about is ourselves. So it's something to pay attention to. I have got a recording. I found an article on this. It will be in the description box because we're not going to go through the entire article. But some key points here to help, as we're learning and growing in this together, to get a better understanding of one another. Let's get to it.
March 2012. Intelligence analysis is plagued by many of the cognitive traps also encountered in other disciplines. The first systematic study of the specific pitfalls lying between an intelligence analyst and clear thinking was carried out by Dick Hoare. 1. According to Hoare, these cognitive traps for intelligence analysis may be rooted either in the analyst's organizational culture or his or her own personality. Contents: 1. Types. 1.1 Mirror imaging. 1.2 Target fixation. 1.3 Inappropriate analogies. 2. Organizational culture. 3. The other culture. 4. The other side is different. 4.1 The other side makes different technological assumptions. 4.2 The other side does not make decisions as you do. 4.3 The other side may be trying to confuse you. 5. See also. 6. References. Types edit. Mirror imaging edit. The most common personality trap, known as mirror imaging 2, is the analyst's assumption that the people being studied think like the analysts themselves. An important variation is to confuse actual subjects with one's information or images about them, as the sort of apple one eats and the ideas and issues it may raise. It poses a dilemma for the scientific method in general, since science uses information and theory to represent complex natural systems as if theoretical constructs might be in control of indefinable natural processes. An inability to distinguish subjects from what one is thinking about them is also studied under the subject of functional fixedness, first studied in Gestalt psychology and in relation to the subject-object problem. Experienced analysts may recognize that they have fallen prey to mirror imaging if they discover that they are unwilling to examine variants of what they consider most reasonable in light of their personal frame of reference. Less perceptive analysts affected by this trap may regard legitimate objections as a personal attack, rather than looking beyond ego to the merits of the question. Peer review, especially by people from a different background, can be a wise safeguard. Organizational culture can also create traps which render individual analysts unwilling to challenge acknowledged experts in the group. See also, false consensus effect. Inappropriate analogies are yet another cognitive trap. Though analogies may be extremely useful, they can become dangerous when forced, or when they are based on assumptions of cultural or contextual equivalence. Avoiding such analogies is difficult when analysts are merely unconscious of differences between their own context and that of others. It becomes extremely difficult when they are unaware that important knowledge is missing. Difficulties associated with admitting one's ignorance are an additional barrier to avoiding such traps. Such ignorance can take the form of insufficient study, a lack of factual information or understanding, an inability to mesh new facts with old, or a simple denial of conflicting facts. Organizational culture edit. Even extremely creative thinkers may find it difficult to gain support within their organization. Often more concerned with appearances, managers may suppress conflict born of creativity in favor of the status quo. A special case of stereotyping is stovepiping, whereby a group heavily invested in a particular collection technology ignores valid information from other sources, functional specialization. It was a Soviet tendency to value human intelligence, gathered from espionage, above all other sources. The Soviet Ascent was forced to go outside the State Intelligence Organization in developing the USA, later USA-Canada, Institute of the Soviet Academy of Sciences for. Another specialization problem may come as a result of security compartmentalization. An analytic team with unique access to a source may overemphasize that source's significance. This can be a major problem with long-term human relationships, in which partners develop personal bonds. Groups, like individual analysts, can also reject evidence which contradicts prior conclusions. When this happens, it is often difficult to assess whether the inclusion of certain analysts in the group was the thoughtful application of deliberately contrarian red teams, or the politicized insertion of ideologues to militate for a certain policy.
So, as that article just stated, that really no one is safe from the possibility and probability of mirror imaging or closing off and blocking new information that could go against how you feel or think about an individual. Close friends will always defend close friends. What we need to realize and come to the conclusion, if we are putting ourselves out there, and it is to help all mankind to raise up and be prepared for what we're stepping into for our divine purpose, then if what is being brought forward goes against the values that we have put out for what we stepped out in order to do for others, to be in service to others, then we need to step back from the observer point of view and really examine what is going on. And things change on a daily basis. And as new information comes in that could be problematic, although you have a close connection with somebody or a group of people that could be problematic, you have to reevaluate what is in the best for the whole of everybody, not just the person that you are a close friend or friends with. Now, it's hard to, step back and do this, especially when you are so intertwined with certain people. But if they are truly your friend, friendship should be just like as what we're all trying to attain of unconditional love. The friendship should be unconditional. So if there is a problem within the situation, you should feel free to openly discuss it as new information and facts and things you've seen with your own eyes. To sit there and ignore those things puts you in a very awkward position. You can lose your position as a teacher or somebody who is trying to guide others into their divinity and their understanding of who and what they are. Moment by moment, we change. We're evolving. We always have the right to choose. But what kind of favor are you doing to the friend who is mirror imaging or has got you caught up in the midst of something that is really causing you more harm, and you just don't see it because you're blinded by it? We hear the saying, rose-colored glasses. Well, sometimes we need to take off those rose-colored glasses, and we need to do what's in the best of everybody, all mankind, because we're all in this together. Now, another thing I want to touch on really quickly is that everything is a choice. And if we're going through ascension, in which we all are, we are able to choose at any time to change or morph or transmute and move along our path. Just because you're intertwined with a small group of people that could be, maybe problematic, that doesn't mean they can't change their mind and grow. And you could be the catalyst to help them with that understanding when you can extract yourself from the situation and view it from a different perspective. One of the main factors that in every study, everything that I have looked into, is unconditional love. And with unconditional love comes unconditional forgiveness. So if you have somebody that's not exhibiting unconditional love, well, you need to show unconditional love to this person by trying to do the best that you can to help them to move along on their path. That's another thing that I know for certain, is that nobody can do the work for you. You have to want it. You have to want to walk that path, and it has to be the journey of your own choices. People can drag you down by, pulling you into their situations, but that is your choice. If you choose to allow others to pull you down and stunt or stagnate you, those are choices that you have to make. This goes for everybody, myself included. It's just a beautiful time that we are in. We're moving through this together. Remember also that when one person is feeling, ascension symptoms, their symptoms could be different than yours. Yours do not have to be synchronized with theirs to know that you're ascending. You are the one to make the choice on whether or not you want to manifest those symptoms. A lot of them can be very uncomfortable, but you choose whether you want to feel those very uncomfortable feelings, or how you want it to manifest, that you know that you're on the right path. But I assure you, my friends, we are all on this path, and we are all in this together. So we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we have a weak link within our community or within our group, we're not doing them any favors by lifting them up instead of telling them the truth. And we need to be flexible, bendable, and movable, as this is a flow. Energy is flowing through us. Now, I used to have ascension flu type symptoms, but now as these energies come in, sometimes I'll just want to take a nap, and I wake up just energized and rejuvenated, and it's wonderful. So I don't suffer with a lot of these different ascension flu type symptoms unless I listen to people that talk about them. So food sources can come from many different directions. It's not just something that comes off the plate at dinner time. It is what we put into our mind, what we put into our heart, and everything else that goes into us that we accept. When we accept it, then we become it and we start to manifest it. So I hope that this was eye-opening on mirror imaging. And if you're caught up into a mirror imaging type scenario, or you're aware of it and you're not saying anything to the individual, just realize that you're hurting that person along with hurting yourself. When we want to get to the unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness, realizing the unique divine spark that's within each and every single one of us. Also, we need to know that when we're talking about, service to others versus service to self, in service to others does not necessarily mean financially. It means much, much more than that. Helping somebody realize the divinity and unconditional love and teaching that is service to others. And that is where the deepest and the higher beings, so to speak, look at us and see, how do we treat one another? Where is our heart? It's how we are putting things to people in a non-judgmental way of equality and balance. So if you think that God Almighty or Source or Creator of all is looking at us saying, well, this person gave, $20 to this person, or that, no. It completely has to do with your heart. And if it's in your heart to really be in service to others, then telling people the truth and being flexible and moving with the energies really makes a much bigger impact than anything that your wallet can ever do. You can never buy your way into heaven. You cannot buy your way through this ascension process. It is work. It is work that needs to be chosen and done by each individual. So I just wanted to emphasize that service to others is not just financial, although that does help. And we should help one another in those means as we can. But the biggest service that we can do to others is to help them understand who and what they are, and explain, especially if it's a good friend, where they're erring in their ways, or if what is being put out is actually hurting others or helping others. It's in our hearts. We need to connect through our hearts. And in ourselves, we connect from our heart to our mind. So, with that said, always share what you know and listen so we can grow. And service to others doesn't always mean dollars, guys. I love you. Have yourself a wonderful day.